Picture this. It's the 28th of the month and you're checking your bank account. You got paid 3 weeks ago and somehow there's only $347 left. You remember buying groceries, filling up your tank, grabbing coffee a few times, maybe ordering takeout twice, but nothing crazy, nothing excessive. You weren't being irresponsible,
I'll save
and yet the
whatever's
money
left.
just vanished. So you tell yourself the same thing you always do. Next month, whatever's left over, I'm gonna save it. Here's the problem. There's never anything left over. And I'm gonna show you exactly why that happens, why willpower has absolutely nothing to do with it, and how flipping one simple thing in how you handle your paycheck will completely change your financial life. My name is Ashraf, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people keep making the same financial mistakes over and over again. If you're someone who knows they should be saving money, who has every intention of saving money, but somehow keeps arriving at the end of the month with nothing to show for it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't some complicated investment strategy or budgeting spreadsheet. It's one shift in timing that changes everything. So let's talk about the way most people handle their money. And I want you to really think about whether this describes you. You get your paycheck, let's say $4,000 hits your account on the first of the month. You've got your rent or mortgage, that's $1,400. You've got your car payment, $380. Insurance, utilities, phone bill, let's call that another $450 combined. Student loans, maybe $280. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After all those fixed expenses, you've got about $1,490 left. And you look at that number and think, okay, I need groceries, I need gas, I'll probably go out with friends once or twice, and whatever's left at the end, that's what I'll save, right? That's the plan. That's what financial responsibility looks like in your mind. Except there's a massive problem with this approach, and it's not what you think. The problem isn't that you're bad with money. The problem isn't that you lack discipline. The problem is that you're fighting against something called Parkinson's law, and you're going to lose that fight every single time. Parkinson's law was originally about work. It stated that work expands to fill the time available for its completion, but it applies to money in a terrifying way. Your expenses will expand to consume whatever money is available. Not because you're greedy, not because you're irresponsible, but because your brain literally perceives available money as money that can be spent. Here's what most people don't realize. When you see $1,490 in your account after your bills are paid, your brain doesn't categorize that as $1,490 from which I must carefully allocate for groceries, gas, savings, and discretionary spending. Your brain sees $1,490 of available money, and every spending decision you make for the rest of that month is filtered through the lens of, I have this much available. A study from the Journal of Consumer Research found that people consistently spend 15 to 30% more when they perceive their available balance as higher, even when their actual financial obligations remain the same. Think about that. The mere perception of having money available increases spending by up to 30%.
The businessman nods confidently.
I need to be really direct about something. The traditional advice is to budget. Track every expense, categorize everything, stay within your limits. And theoretically, that works. In a spreadsheet, in a perfect world where you're a robot who never has a bad day or faces an unexpected expense or gets invited to a friend's birthday dinner, budgeting works beautifully. But here's the thing. A study published in the Journal of Financial Planning found that 65% of people who create detailed budgets abandon them within 3 months. 3 months! And the reason isn't laziness. The reason is that budgeting, as it's traditionally taught, requires constant active decision-making. Every time you want to buy something, you have to consult your budget, check your categories, calculate whether you're over or under, and then make a decision based on willpower. And here's what we know about willpower from decades of psychological research. It's a finite resource. Roy Baumeister's research on ego depletion showed that willpower depletes throughout the day as you use it. By the time you're making your 15th financial decision of the day, your ability to resist that $8 sandwich or that $15 impulse purchase on Amazon is dramatically lower than it was in the morning. Now, you might be thinking, But Ashraf, disciplined people can stick to a budget. And sure, some can. But even for those people, they're expending enormous mental energy on something that, as I'm about to show you, doesn't have to require any willpower at all. The traditional approach of earn, spend, save what's left has a fundamental flaw built into its very structure. It makes saving the last priority. It makes saving the thing that happens only if everything else goes perfectly. And in personal finance, just like in life, things never go perfectly. Your car needs new tires, your kid needs supplies for a school project, your friend is getting married and you need to buy a gift. There's always something. This is where it gets really interesting. Behavioral economists have a term for this. They call it present bias. It's the tendency for people to give stronger weight to payoffs that are closer to the present time when considering trade-offs between two future moments. In simple terms, your brain values the immediate satisfaction of spending today far more than the abstract benefit of having money saved for tomorrow. When you're deciding whether to save $200 at the end of the month, you're competing against every possible way you could use that $200 right now. That new gadget, that dinner out, those shoes, that concert ticket. The future benefit is abstract. The present temptation is concrete. Your brain will choose concrete almost every time. So here's the solution, and it's going to sound almost too simple. You reverse the order. Instead of earn, spend, then save what's left, you do this: earn, save first, then spend what's left. This is called paying yourself first, and it's not some trendy financial hack. This principle has been taught by financial advisors for decades, but what hasn't been explained enough is why it works at a behavioral and psychological level. When you pay yourself first, you remove the decision from the equation entirely. You automate it. On the day your paycheck hits your account, before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing, a predetermined amount gets transferred directly into your savings or investment account, automatically, without you having to think about it, decide about it, or exercise willpower about it. Let me show you what this looks like with actual numbers. Same scenario as before, $4,000 paycheck. But this time, the very first thing that happens is $400 gets automatically transferred to your savings account. Not 10% because someone told you that's the rule, but $400 because you decided that's what you're capable of saving right now. We'll talk about how to figure out your number in a minute. Now, after that automatic transfer, you have $3,600 in your checking account. You pay your rent, your car payment, your insurance, utilities, phone bill. Let's call that another $2,510. Student loans, maybe? $280. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After all those fixed expenses, you've got about $1,090 left for groceries, gas, and discretionary spending for the month. Here's what's fascinating. That $1,090 is now your available money. That's what your brain perceives as spendable. And because the $400 is already gone, already saved, already in a different account that you've mentally categorized as not for spending, it doesn't factor into your spending decisions anymore. You're not exercising willpower to avoid spending that $400. You're not making a daily decision to protect that money. It's simply not there to spend. The decision was made once, at the beginning of the month, automatically. Research from behavioral economics shows that people are significantly more likely to save money when it's automated compared to when they have to manually transfer it. One study found that automatic enrollment in retirement savings plans increased participation rates from 49% to 86%. That's a 75% increase in participation just by removing the need to actively decide. But here's the deeper psychological shift that happens, and this is what most people don't realize. When you pay yourself first, you're not just saving money, you're rewiring how your brain perceives your financial reality. When you commit to paying yourself first, something really interesting happens in your brain. You start to view that automated savings transfer not as money you're losing or sacrificing, but as an expense, as a bill you owe to yourself. Think about this. You never sit there on the first of the month and think, I really don't feel like paying rent this month. I'd rather spend that $1,400 on something fun. That sounds absurd, right? Because you understand that rent is non-optional. It's a non-negotiable expense. You might not like paying it, but you would never consider not paying it because you understand the consequences. When you pay yourself first and automate it, your savings becomes exactly that, a non-negotiable expense, a bill you owe to future you. And just like you would never skip your electricity bill because you wanted to buy concert tickets, you stop viewing your savings as optional money that you'll get to if there's anything left over. This is a profound shift in identity. You move from being someone who tries to save when possible to someone who is a saver. The goal is not to save money. The goal is to become a saver. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. When your identity changes, your behaviors align with that identity automatically. Look, there's also something called mental accounting that works in your favor here. Mental accounting is when people treat money differently depending on where it is. Now you might be thinking, Ashraf, this sounds great in theory, but I'm barely making it to the end of the month as it is. I don't have extra money to save. If I take $400 out right at the beginning, I'm going to overdraft by the end of the month. I hear this objection constantly, and I want to address it really carefully because it's valid. If you're genuinely living paycheck to paycheck and every single dollar is already allocated to survival expenses, then obviously you can't magic money into existence. But here's what I've found working with hundreds of people who feel this way. When we actually sit down and track their spending for 1 month, not with judgment, but just with data, the majority of them discover that there is money being spent on things that wouldn't make their own priority list. Not always, but usually. A $9.99 subscription they forgot about, eating lunch out when they could have packed something, a more expensive phone plan than necessary, DoorDash fees that are costing an extra $40 a month compared to picking up the food themselves. These aren't criticisms. These are just observations about where money goes when we're not intentionally directing it. The average American, according to a survey by The Ascent, spends $219 per month on subscription services, but only uses about 60% of them regularly. That's $130 a month on services that provide minimal value. That alone could fund a significant portion of your pay yourself first amount. But let's say you genuinely cannot find $400 a month. Fine. Start with $50. Start with $25. Start with whatever number makes the math work. The specific amount matters less than the principle and the automation. Because here's what happens when you start with $50 per month, and that becomes automatic, becomes normal, becomes something you don't even think about. You've proven to yourself that you can live on $50 less than you thought you needed. And 6 months from now, when you get a raise or pay off a credit card or reduce some expense, instead of letting that extra money disappear into lifestyle inflation, you increase your automatic savings by $25 or $50. You're not adding a new expense to your life. You're just incrementally becoming a slightly bigger saver. This is how you go from someone who can't save anything to someone who's saving 15 or 20% of their income. Not through some massive overnight transformation, through small, automated, incremental changes that compound over time. All right, let's get tactical. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to set up a pay-yourself-first system that actually works. Step 1 is to figure out your number, and this requires some honesty and some math. Pull up your bank statements for the last 3 months, add up everything you spent, divide by 3. That's your average monthly spending. Now, subtract that from your average monthly income. If there's a gap, that's your theoretical savings capacity. Can you save that entire gap? Maybe. Should you try to immediately? Probably not. Start with something that feels uncomfortable, but not impossible. If your gap is $600 a month, maybe you start with $300. The goal is to set a number that you'll actually stick with, not a number that sounds impressive but causes you to abandon the whole system after 2 months. The second step is to open a separate savings account. This is critical. Do not keep your savings in your checking account. It needs to be in a different account, ideally at a different bank, so there's friction between you and that money. You want it to be accessible in a true emergency, but you don't want it to be so accessible that you can transfer it with one click when you're tempted to buy something. The third step, and this is the most important one, is to automate the transfer. Most banks allow you to set up automatic transfers on specific dates. Set it up so that on the day your paycheck deposits, or the day after, the transfer happens automatically. You should not be manually moving this money every month. That reintroduces decision-making, which reintroduces the opportunity to skip it just this once. The fourth step is to treat this as a sacred, non-negotiable expense. This is rent you owe to future you. This is not optional. This is not if I have extra. This is mandatory. When you view it this way, when you protect it the same way you protect your rent payment, you'll find ways to make everything else work around it. And step 5 is to commit to revisiting this every 3 to 6 months. Not to reduce it unless your life circumstances have genuinely changed, but to see if you can increase it. Did you get a raise? Increase your automatic savings by half of that raise. Did you pay off a credit card? Redirect that monthly payment to your savings. The goal is to ratchet up your savings rate over time without it ever feeling like a sacrifice because you're using money that was already allocated to something else. Let me show you what this actually looks like over time, because this is where people start to understand why this matters so much. Let's say you're 28 years old, you implement a pay-yourself-first system and start saving $400 a month. You put it in a boring index fund that historically returns about 8% annually after inflation. Not some get-rich-quick scheme, just consistent, automated investing. In 1 year, you have $5,000. That feels good, but it doesn't feel life-changing. In 5 years, you have $29,000. Okay, now we're talking. That's a down payment on a house in many markets. That's 6 months of emergency expenses. That's I can quit a job I hate money. But let's keep going. In 10 years, you have $73,000. In 20 years, you have $230,000. And if you keep this up until you're 65, that $400 a month turns into $1.4 million. Now here's the comparison. Let's say instead of paying yourself first, you try the traditional approach. You're going to save whatever's left at the end of each month. But because of Parkinson's law, because of present bias, because of lifestyle inflation, you average about $100 a month in actual savings. Some months you save $200, some months you save nothing. It averages out to $100. At 65, you have $350,000. That's not nothing. That's actually more than most Americans have saved, but it's $1 million less than the pay-yourself-first approach. Same number of years, same person, different system. This is what I mean when I say this isn't about willpower or discipline, it's about structure. The person who saves $400 a month consistently isn't 4 times more disciplined than the person who averages $100. They just have a better system. And this is where it gets really interesting, because that $1.4 million isn't just retirement money. That's freedom money. That's I can take a year off to travel money. That's I can start a business without worrying about going broke money. That's I can help my kids with college money. That's I can retire early if I want to money. The difference between financial stress and financial freedom often isn't income. It's structure. It's systems. It's paying yourself first. Here's what most people don't realize about personal finance. The tactics matter, the spreadsheets matter, the compound interest calculations matter, but none of it matters if you don't have the right structure in place to make the tactics automatic. You can read every personal finance book ever written. You can know the optimal asset allocation. You can understand tax-advantaged accounts and backdoor Roth conversions and all the sophisticated strategies. But if you're still operating on the save what's left over model, you're going to struggle. The pay yourself first system is the foundation that makes everything else possible. Because once you're consistently saving, once that's automatic and non-negotiable, then you can start thinking about optimization. Then you can start thinking about whether that money should go to a Roth IRA or a 401k or a taxable brokerage account.
Then you can start thinking about index funds versus individual stocks or real estate investing. But all of that is meaningless if you're not actually saving money consistently in the first place. I think the reason this system works so well is because it aligns with how humans actually function, rather than fighting against it. We're not rational calculators who can maintain perfect discipline indefinitely. We're emotional beings who respond to struggle first. You're not trying to become a different person. You're not trying to develop superhuman willpower. You're just setting up your financial life in a way that makes the right thing the easy thing.